So
agenda.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. A roll call has been taken and we have a quorum. Has everyone had a chance to look at last month's meeting minutes? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
This is Doug, so moved.
Pete, second.
There's a motion on the table. Please state your name and say aye if you approve.
Doug, aye.
Pete, aye.
Brandon, aye.
Aye. All a unanimous motion is approved. Communications.
I just have a few quick communications. Yukon and Deep are holding a forested wetland soils workshop. It is offered multiple dates and places. It's in Stores and Burlington as well. There are 3 dates in September, the 12th, the 14th, and the 16th. If any of you would like to attend, just shoot me an email and I can send you the information. And then the other thing is the pond at 289 New London Turnpike has been treated on June 8th, July 7th, August 4th, and will be on or around September 8th. And that's it for that.
Okay, thank you. Old business IWWCC number 22-11-143 Yantic Road.
And we have Dave McKay for the applicant present. Dave, do you want to share things to the screen?
Yes, thank you. This is David McKay with Boundaries on behalf of Yantic Fire Engine Company. And with me here is Chief Bill Ibers of the Yantic Fire Engine Company. All right, so just starting by sharing the GIS aerial photo of the area. This is Route 2 here under the cursor, and here is Hale Mill. And right here is Yantic Fire Engine Company. This is the existing parking lot and existing garage. And this is the currently vacant lot where our proposed expanded paved parking and training area will be constructed. And you can see that the Yantic River forms the property line on the east side of each of these lots.
There we go.
Right. So I should be showing you a photo of the existing conditions here. You can see it's primarily just a gravel lot with some remnants of pavement and concrete. This used to be a commercial property, but the building was demolished several years ago. And right now it's just an open gravel area. This is the view from the edge of the existing gravel. The brush you can see on the right-hand side is along a steep slope that goes down to a stone retaining wall that forms the bank of the river. And just another view looking from the edge of that gravel area out to Yantic Road, facing west. And you can see Hale Mill right across the street. This is in the existing paved parking area. This is a paved leak off that drains directly to the Yantic River. A lot of vegetation growing here, but this pavement runs down to the existing stone wall and it just flows directly into the river. This is a view standing at the top of that leak off. There's the existing garage building, the large paved parking area that serves the fire engine company currently, and then another view out to Yantic Road showing Hale Mill in the background there. Now
David,
I'm not getting those, David.
Yeah, if I could just stop you, they're not showing up on the screen. It's
Oh,
still
they're not.
GIS.
Okay. Uh-oh.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So did you miss all the photos?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry about that. All right. Well, I'll go backwards through quickly then. This is a view of the existing paved parking area. can see the existing garage in the corner here and Hale Mill across the street. This all drains out to a paved leak off that just dumps straight into the river over the stone retaining wall. That's proposed to be removed as part of this project. And then here are some views of the gravel parking area, which is proposed to be paved with a combination of pavement and pervious pavement in order to support the proposed use of this lot for a new training area for the fire company. All right. So that's our photos. Again, I apologize for that issue there. I'll go back and now you should be seeing our existing condition survey. Okay. So the areas we just looked at here, this is the limit of the gravel that's on the southerly property. And you can see here the brush line, steep slope down to the bank of Yantic River, which is that stone retaining wall. And then this is the location of the paved leak off here that collects drainage from this entire paved parking area here. And then there's the existing garage and the existing fire engine company building. Hale Mill is across the street. Right, so now we'll go to the proposed site plan. And there's two parts to this project. One is the construction of a new paved area where the existing gravel surface is. So that's outlined here, takes up most of the property. This approximately 3,300 square foot area is going to be pervious pavement. And that pervious pavement allows stormwater runoff to freely flow through the surface. And below that is a thick layer of different gradations of crushed stone that hold onto that water and allow it to infiltrate. So we're using this to reduce the runoff from the site and also to capture that first inch of runoff from all of the existing and proposed impervious areas that used to flow out to the paved leak off here that's going to be eliminated. Between the edge of this paved area and the bank of the river, we're going to have a crushed stone strip right along the edge of the parking lot for the cases of an extremely large storm event, and when this crushed stone reservoir beneath the pervious pavement might fill up, runoff would flow through that stone filter strip into a non-mowed vegetated buffer with landscape plantings of trees and shrubs along the river, and then to a narrow width of riprap slope on that steep slope right above the stone wall. That slope's varying, but generally about 5 feet in width, just for that steep area right behind the wall. That allows us to remove the brush and shrubs that are growing behind the wall before they get too mature and the root systems get to be a problem immediately behind that retaining wall. That's the first portion of the project. Next portion of the project is a new garage on the property here, 3,000 square foot, 3-bay garage that will provide parking for the fire engine equipment. And that, in conjunction with that, we're going to eliminate all the existing pavement behind the building that you saw in that photo and that paved leak off here. So then all the runoff from the roof and from this existing paved area is going to flow into our new paved area and get captured by the pervious pavement. This is just the utilities and drainage plan. You can see there is an existing town or city drainage discharge that runs through the property out to the river. We are proposing to have a high level connection to that drainage pipe just to protect the surface of the pavement during winter months, so it doesn't get subjected to a freeze thaw cycle from that pervious paved area. Install a manhole in the parking area where there's been a drainage repair recently, and then connect those under drain pipes to that. And those under drains would only collect that high level of runoff exceeding the 1-inch water quality volume. So it'd all be treated water that would enter this manhole from the parking area, proposed, existing, and the garage here. Also some proposed lighting along both sides here, and proposed utility service connections for the new garage. This is the erosion sediment control notes and other standard details. Right here is our proposed E&S measure. It's a straw wattle. The reason we're proposing this is it's light and easy to install, so that'll be able to be placed. Let me go back to the correct sheet. That'll be able to be placed along the entire perimeter of our proposed disturbance before any clearing is needing to happen, or grubbing or anything along those lines. It comes in rolls, and it will be able to be staked in right behind that stone retaining wall, and then up along our limit of disturbance for the regrading and elimination of the pavement behind the proposed buildings. One other item to note about this property is the entire property is located in a FEMA designated floodplain. And this line here is the limit of the FEMA designated floodway. So as part of this project, the proposed garage will be dry flood proofed. So we are grading the new parking area and behind the building here to provide compensatory storage for the volume displaced by the new building. So all of this area will be lowered from the existing grades to make up that compensatory storage. And then you can see here, limit of the floodway. The work that's shown in the floodway is the slope stabilization, the landscape plantings, and a short strip of the pervious pavement along the edge here, and that stone filter strip. All right, so detail for the straw wattle that I discussed, that'll be installed at the perimeter of the project area. Catch basin inlet protection for the catch basin right in front of the property. A detail for that filter diaphragm along the edge of the pavement. That's a stone filter for any excessive runoff that ends up flowing over the pervious pavement in extreme storm events. And then the detail for the pervious pavement cross section with the pervious pavement layers, pea stone and sand filters, and then the main storage area for that volume of runoff. There's also proposed to be a landscape paver island consistent with the existing granite and pavement islands that are on the property, and granite curbing, detail for our tree planting, and then the curb along the parking area and the parking cross section. And an anti-tracking pad detail for the location that construction equipment would exit from the parking area during construction. And just final detail sheet for the riprap slope stabilization immediately behind the stone retaining wall. Detail for the proposed lighting, which matches the lighting that was installed on the bridge just down the street as well, keeping in kind with the neighborhood. Detail for the electrical conduits for the lighting, conduit for the service trench, and the handholds for the lighting. A detail for guide rail right along the edge of that proposed training and parking area, our drainage manhole, the under drain system that I mentioned at the top of that stone storage course underneath the pervious pavement, and detail for the water service and some directional signage. Our total area of activity on this project, about a ½ acre of this is in the upland review area of the Yantic River. You can see the upland review area line here does encompass most of the property. And then we have an additional ½ acre for repaving the existing parking lot and construction of that landscaped island and a portion of the pavement out here. So a total area of activity of 3/4 of an acre. I think that that brings me to the end of the plan set and the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Dave, you want to go over again what happens in a major storm when you have
Yes.
more than an inch of rain?
Yeah, I'm scrolling down to the cross section here that shows the under drainage system. So this layer of crushed stone here below that piping, that's sized to hold more than that 1st inch of runoff.
Okay.
That's intended to provide the peak flow rate attenuation. So we did prepare and submit a stormwater management report that was reviewed by Brian Long, the city engineer, demonstrating that with the infiltration of this stone course and the control provided by this 6-inch outlet pipe, that peak flow rates will not exceed existing conditions peak flow rates as a result of the project. These upper layers of pavement and stone and sand help filter the runoff as it comes in to the pervious pavement cross section. Then that runoff would get down into this lower layer of stone here and begin infiltrating into the existing soils below it. And in those extreme events, we would get to a condition where runoff would pond to a point where it can flow into this perforated pipe at the top of that stone reservoir course. Then that would flow out through the pipe, connect to the drainage manhole, and drain out to the river, which is pretty consistent with the current conditions, except that this runoff is all treated by the storage in the stone course and the filtration provided from the upper courses, as opposed to the direct discharge through the paved leak off. And then in the 100-year event, you would have potential for a condition where this area is totally submerged, also being in the 100-year floodplain as well. So that runoff would then flow like across a normal paved area into our stone filter course at the edge of the pavement, receive some treatment there, just filtration of that last bit of runoff that can't make it into the pervious section, and then flow out through the vegetated buffer. And scroll back up to that sheet. So in those extreme situations, we would have the stone filter course here, and then the vegetated buffer between the parking area and the river. And we're specifying a no mow or infrequent mowing seed mix for this area to reduce maintenance. And so that also helps with the runoff going through, because that's not going to be a typical maintained lawn area. It may get mowed once or twice a year, but it would be more of a denser vegetated area between there in the river.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I'd like to say, this is Brandon Hyde. Familiar with the site. I think that the old school splashway that's there, that's paved, does nothing for filtering. I think this is a great site improvement to the site overall. So I just want to applaud the efforts, and I think it's like I said, an overall site improvement. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have to determine whether or not this is a significant activity. Do I hear a motion?
This is Brandon. I move that it is not a significant activity due to the overall site improvements.
This is Doug, second.
There's a motion on the table. All in favor, please state your name and say aye.
Doug, aye.
Brandon, I.
Pete, aye.
Michael, aye.
Aye. All in favor, motion is approved. Which brings us to, let's see, IWWCC 2209, 3 Sabrina's Court was been withdrawn. So we have new business.
Oh,
Joe Cole-
No.
Hold
No,
on, hold on.
sorry, I skipped a,
Yep, I have a couple things. I'd like to go over my memo real quick, which I need to bring up here. If you give me a moment, please. So we had just a few comments, and the city engineer had a few comments, and Dave provided updated plans, which he just went through, that addressed all of them. My main comment was asking that they move the stockpile location outside of the upland area, which they did on his plan. The city engineer determined that a bond for ENS in the amount of $7,388.48 is satisfactory. I have a number of conditions that should you choose to approve the project, I'd ask to be made part of the approval. I'd also ask that we waive the reading of them, mainly for Rich's sake. And they're on the screen now. I'll send them to the clerk to be included as part of the minutes. That's all I have to add. Thank you.
a motion to waive the reading of the 12 items on Dan's list.
This is Doug, so
So
moved.
moved.
Brandon, second.
Second,
All in favor, state your name and say aye, please.
Doug, aye.
Michael, aye.
Pete, aye.
Brandon, I.
So moved. Okay, now, is there a move to approve? IWWCC 22-3,
Brandon, I move to approve IWCC, what was the number again?
22-3,
22,
dash
2-11.
22-11, for the record, 22-11.
This is Doug, second.
Doug's got it.
There's a motion on the table. All in favor?
Doug, aye.
Brandon, I.
Can I just, excuse me, this is Michael. Can I just ask whether or not that motion of that that we didn't read but are on the screen? Should it be approved subject In other words, we
We
approved.
did approve
subject to
these
the
12
conditions.
items, yes.
Submitted.
We submitted them into the record.
Okay,
Just to clarify, Brandon, are we going to say your motion included points from my memo?
It did. I moved to approve with the points from the memo that were submitted.
Thank you.
This is
Okay.
Doug. I still second that.
Pete,
this is Michael.
yes,
I approve.
aye or nay? Michael, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
okay. Peter,
Yes. Pete,
unanimous, motion approved. IWWCC 2209 has been withdrawn, which brings us to new business. Dan,
Yes, we had a show cause hearing tonight for an unauthorized land disturbance in a regulated area, 300 Canterbury Turnpike in Norwich, Assessors Map 30, Block 1, Lot 16, Zone R80. And up here. So in June, well, really in May and June, but the way our meeting schedule fell and then we didn't have multiple meetings, I received multiple complaints about work in the pond area at 300 Canterbury Turnpike. So I provided you all, they were sent a cease and correct order for the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, so that's why we're here tonight. The three main points were immediately install and maintain in good working order ENS controls in the form of a silt fence backed with stake hay bales at the limits of the disturbed areas surrounding the pond. Appear before the commission tonight and provide evidence regarding the agricultural use of the property as was discussed in October of 2021. I spoke with one of the group members that own the property and was provided a short-term / medium-term plan of what they'd like to do with the property. And that included removal of a wall, which we were fine with. And they were going to hay the fields, the existing fields there for the short term and clean up around the pond to use it for watering purposes. Then we contacted Deep due to the nature of the work, and Deep has the authority to go out on site. So I have here pictures from an email that show the disturbance. So there was grading and clearing around the ponds. And we determined that the size of the pond was increased based on aerials that we have access to and then the current state of it. I also received a number of pictures from the person who filed the complaint, which I can share with you if you'd like. I have them in a different document. And some of the members of the property group are here before you tonight to respond to the letter. So I don't know if you want to hear them speak at this point, Rich.
certainly. I remind you that the general public cannot speak, just the commission members and the property owners. Would you like to introduce yourself? And
Sure. Is everybody here a commission member?
We're the only commission and those folks online. She's a clerk for the city. So
Okay.
you're the only members from the public. And when you speak, if you could just state your name and
Should you want
address,
me to come up here?
wherever you feel comfortable.
If you could come a little closer,
Yeah.
just for audio purposes, that'd be great.
This is the address information, correct?
okay,
Judge?
Thank you. I'll come over and grab that afterwards.
yes,
So if you don't mind, I prepared, can you see me okay?
Yes,
I have my comments sort of written up because I wanted to touch on the points and not forget them, and I'm not used to this kind of thing. But my name is Pam Kegels. This is a friend of mine, Tommy Balderaki, and this is one of his dogs, Lily. We are two of the three partners in Three Rivers Retrievers that owns 300 Canterbury Turnpike. The third individual who you had contact with, Dan, is Jeff Enos, and he couldn't be here tonight.
correct.
I'll get back to Lily in a bit, shortly. But last month, we received a letter from you, from the City of Norwich Office of Planning and Development. And we have come here tonight to talk to you to address the problem and find out what we need to do. Before we get to that, though, I wanted to explain to you the use of our property. The three of us train hunting retrievers for field trials, hunt tests, and for hunting. We're amateurs. A couple of years ago, we started looking for property so that we could do on our own property. And about a year ago, we found 300 Canterbury Turnpike. So at the time that we purchased it, there was a farmer that was growing corn on the property. And we knew that corn would be an unsafe crop for our dogs to run through. So we had the farmer, we gave him the corn crop and let him harvest it when it was ready. At the time that we purchased the property, it was in a PA 490 forestry program. So knowing that we would not be able to safely run the dogs in a corn crop, we had our farmer plant radishes and rye, and we planted clover to preserve the soil until we could decide what we would do with the farmland. So that has all been there preserving the soil for almost a year now. We quickly realized, though, that unfortunately, this parcel of land, which had gone into disuse decades ago, had been and continues to be used to trespass to Fairview Reservoir and worse, as a free dump. And it continues to be trespassed on and dumped on regularly. We stop people every time we're there. So after a couple of our dogs were badly cut on broken glass and sharp metal objects that were littered everywhere in our fields, our pond, and our woods, we began a huge project to clean up the mess. About that same time, we discovered that the PA 490 program does not carry over to a new owner. So we hired a forester and we applied for the PA 490 forestry program. We were approved for that program, and at that time, we were still unsure of what to do about a crop. So we focused on the cleanup, and we had already incurred more expense than we had expected. So we just continued on with our cleanup, and we did not do more than plant our rye and our radishes and our clover. So back to the dogs. Critical to our training, our dogs mostly retrieve waterfowl, and that's a water structure. Our man-made pond, which was probably created over 100 years ago, was completely littered with broken glass, metal, and was really too dangerous for our use. It was mostly covered by overhung growth of vines and brush, and to clean it up, we did have to clear away growth to pull tires, shopping carts, car bumpers, and the like out of the pond to restore it. TV sets, computers, you name it, it was there. Now to this dog. Lily is a grand hunting retriever champion. She is our finest example and product of our intended use of this property. A grand hunting retriever champion is the highest honor, the highest level of achievement awarded to a retriever under the entire United Kennel Club. That's for the United States and Canada. There are 3 dogs in the entire New England region that have achieved this honor. Lily is one of them. Sunny, who is also owned by Tommy, is another. And Lucy, who is owned by our partner Jeff, is the 3rd. We are amateurs who are training and producing retrievers who are at the top of the standard throughout the United States and Canada, right here in Norwich. This isn't happening anywhere else from Maine to New Jersey or from Pennsylvania to Long Island. It is happening right here on this property in Norwich. So commissioners, we really thought we were doing the right thing, cleaning up what could potentially be a very beautiful property for dog training. We thought we were in a non-regulated use because of our use. We have been, I'm sorry, a non-regulated area because of our use. We've been approached about other uses for this property, such as a winery and for development. But our real desire overall for this property right now is to have a safe, beautiful ground where we and our friends and our dogs can come and train. We've had many neighbors come to us to tell us how happy they are to see this overgrown eyesore finally being cleaned up and used. We're not fancy rich people. I'm retired, Tommy's a mechanic, and Jeff works for the Air Force. We don't earn a penny from what we do with our dogs. We do it for the love of the dogs and the love of this sport. We're very proud of our talented dogs, and we want you to be proud of what we bring to Norwich. We want to work with you to be sure that you're satisfied with our work on the property. At this point, we just like to ask permission to prepare it for planting grass, anticipating that we will have rain soon, we hope. And that's it. Thank you.
How much did you enlarge the pond?
The pond looks like it's enlarged because the brush and the dead trees and everything were pulled out of it. As far as where they showed the dirt and everything, that's from dragging the trees out and the brush that was around the edges. So the pond, we didn't dig the pond any bigger. The pond is, I think when it just filled up, we at one point in that picture, I think we had gotten a lot of rain and the pond looked bigger than it normally did from the water. If you were to look at the pond today, it's the size of this room because it's such a drought now. So it's not like we dug a bigger circle because we didn't. It's just that the pond, I think the pond, we had quite a bit of water and it filled up more. So right there in that picture, you could see dirt because of the brush that was pulled out of there and the tree limbs, dead trees, everything was, we did clear it out, yes. But in that picture right there, that pond was not made any bigger. The original dike that somebody built, whenever they built it, is all still standing right there. Nothing was tampered with.
So
You
putting,
can't see the dike in that picture actually, but it's to the left, my left.
are you putting decoys in the pond and having the
Yeah.
dogs retrieve them?
Oh, not retrieve decoys. We put decoys in to make it look like a real simulated hunt.
Mhm.
And then we throw birds in various areas. The dog go through decoys, pick up what you would call a doken, which is a fake duck, and sometimes a real duck too, because their real ducks are used in competition that we run. Our dogs go through this water like all the time. They're
Yeah.
in the water, so it's just part of our training to run across. We need land for the fields. They do a land series and they'll do a land water or a water series.
So is there an agricultural use for this pond?
There is no agricultural use for this pond as of now. No, there's not.
This is Pete. I'm looking at a picture of what appears to be debris right on the edge of that pond. Is it known what area that pond encompasses, the size of that?
Could you repeat that? There appears to be what?
Debris.
I'm looking at a picture where it appears that there's debris. It looks like a desk and a sink or something.
No, Pete,
No, dozer.
that's heavy equipment. That's a dozer.
Oh, that's
That's stuck.
a bulldozer buried in the mud.
Yes.
Oh, well,
So there was extensive disturbance. The ponds there, if it's for a farm pond, they're allowed 3 acres of less if it's deemed essential to the farming operation. It doesn't seem to be the case. I would say here, I can bring up the pond from the GIS. And this is the latest aerial we have. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
So it's not very large, and the expansion certainly is nowhere near 3 acres at this point. But I don't think that's necessarily the point, because it's not being used for farming operations. So even though the main point is the work that was done around it should have been permitted by the commission, should have been brought before the commission before it was done.
Correct. This is a situation where there should have been an application in advance with a site plan and an erosion control plan and appropriate controls on the amount of soil disturbance. So that's what was missing here.
I understand. Is there currently machinery buried in the mud on that site or no?
Is there currently any machinery on the site?
No, there's no machines at all there.
Was there any larger trees taken, or was it mostly scrub brush around there?
Nothing, everything that came down was smaller than those trees there. Scrub brush, I think it was Russian olive, and a lot of heavy vines really that engulf the trees. I mean, masses of vines.
See the bittersweet.
And Brandon, having been out to the site in 2021, when the wall was being removed, there was extensive viney, brushy growth, and you could see it in the aerial. It was very, very overgrown.
Dan, since you were out there, I'm gonna ask,
I will say I haven't been out there this summer because we don't have permission to go on the property unless there's an application. So Brian Goboleski from Deep went out and took pictures as part of a water diversion investigation, and they determined that it was not significant for Deep to get involved, and told me to bring it back to you, to the commission here.
so when you were out in 2021, Dan, was what you saw for vegetation, was it invasive? I mean, I heard Russian olive and bittersweet. Was that?
Yeah, it was everywhere.
Okay,
It was not anything you would have by choice.
okay. And do we have anything, Dan, from prior GIS to show the sizing of the pond, even going back a ways, what it is now compared to what it was in GIS?
Yes, if you give me 1 minute now. I don't have it currently. But I can show you. So this is the most current Google satellite image.
Yep.
And then 2019. 2016. 2012. And 2008. So it's relatively been that size for quite a while. And then I do have, if you give me another moment.
Dan, this is Pete. You said that it appeared as though that did increase in size, the pond, correct?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
Well, could you say
and
that last statement?
I have a video.
One of the board committee members wanted to confirm that Dan from the city believes that it was a larger.
Can people see the video?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
So I don't believe it's a substantial increase in the size of the pond, but you can see the cleared area and that dozer is stuck there at that point. And that is from May of this year.
we actually had moisture.
It's a puddle now.
Granted, it hasn't really rained since then, so
Right. So Dan, in the city's professional opinion, I mean, we're heading into prime restoration season here in the fall. I mean, at this point, it's the damage has been done, although it seems it was mostly invasive species that have been cleared. Is that your assessment as well?
yes.
So the most important thing we can do to protect this resource here as a commission is to take advantage of this season we're heading into to come up with a plan to get this area restored, seeded, stabilized, and maybe some desirable natives planted. Is that your assessment?
I would agree with that. It's ultimately the commission's decision, but yes.
That's how I see it as well.
And I'll just say that your purview is related to this. It has nothing to do with the dogs and whatnot. The complaint that we received is bigger than that. But in terms of the wetlands issue, this is the main issue here.
What's the city's opinion on usage for agriculture?
If they want to use it for agriculture and they make the case for that and the Wetlands Commission is fine with that, then they have that right. You need to determine that first. So any bigger changes need to be brought because there's extensive wetlands on the entire parcel. When they mentioned the forestry permit from the previous owner who passed away, this is before my time, but a whole forestry plan was brought before the commission that you guys had a look at and approved. There's a whole plan for tree removal. But that's, from what I understand, the new owners, they don't plan on continuing that.
Right. Is this part of that larger forestry plan we approved a ways back? I know there was selective timber off the larger parcel here.
Right, and I believe that was the extent of that, was the timber removal.
Was this smaller lot incorporated with that original proposal at that time?
I think it's all one lot.
It is all still one lot.
Yes,
How many acres?
118.
Oh, it is the entire lot. then.
It's the whole.
yes, it's large.
Okay, I remember approving that.
Yeah,
Most of us that are sitting here tonight. are part of that.
They did do.
whole parcel here.
Yep.
Yeah, they did do a select cut years ago.
I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I spoke to Mr. Enos in 2021, they were removing the walls here to combine these fields. And the plan, he gave me a typed out plan where they may expand here in the future. And longer term, there may be, I believe, 3 homes developed. And the whole plan was for personal enjoyment of the property. There was no commercial enterprise. It was all, am I correct in that?
You are
You are.
correct,
And
that's right.
the rock, I want to add to the rock wall deal. The rock walls were removed so we can train the dogs across one continuous field and not have rock walls.
Correct. And we were fine with that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
What's currently in these fields? For
Right
crop.
now, it's Ryan Clover.
Ryan clover.
The
Yeah.
radishes were there.
Yeah, they
Okay.
just deteriorate. but
The
yeah,
deer.
Yeah.
Sure, that was a cover crop,
Yeah,
the radishes.
yeah.
Yep. And right now there's Ryan clover. And is that gonna be harvested at all for hay or not?
Not at this moment. We've just been mowing it for our training to run the dogs through different various covers of training. So right now, no. But maybe in the future, we may let somebody bale it or put a better hay in there that could be baled. So yes, down the road possibly, but right at the moment, no.
And this is Pete. When DEP was out there, did they notice any sedimentation downstream from that? It looks like there is a water course leading from that body of water. Was it investigated if there was any evidence of sedimentation downstream? Or, I mean, there's a substantial amount of area directly around the water. It's all been excavated. So I mean, that probably wouldn't have been so bad if it weren't around the water, but.
Pete, I don't know if it goes anywhere.
It does. The only way for that water to overrun is whoever built that pond put a dike in on one side, and it's a big dike. The only way for that water to overflow and run down through them woods is if it ran, ceased underground, very possible, and if it overflowed the dike. That's the only way for that water to go down.
The
There's
dike-
no pipe, there's no nothing.
The dike is still there,
Yes,
in good shape.
yeah, it's all there.
So I have the email. It's on back on the screen here. And this was Deep's response.
Is it okay if I come up and read that?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it's activity that has taken place in a 100-foot upland review area, which requires that, any plans or activities in that upland review area need to be permitted and reviewed by the Inland Wetlands Commission.
Correct.
This is Brandon. Because I consider this to be time sensitive in terms of taking advantage of this season. Personally, I think we need to think of this from a practical standpoint, and I would say that an application should be submitted, but I also would say that I would trust Dan to help manage this, to at least get it stabilized for this fall until a more extensive plan can be submitted, because I think that's the most important thing at this point. But I would say we need to give a timeline of no more than 2 weeks to get that primary plan of stabilization submitted.
So I understand Brandon's concerns. Dan, do you have a course of action you would like to follow here?
I do not. I would defer to the commission.
Okay,
My course of action, if Brandon, if you have specific suggestions that you would like us to incorporate, I would ask that the commission revise the order to include those. And then we'll proceed from there over the next few weeks.
And
so Brandon, kind of back to you.
yeah, that's
so-
fine.
So you have three options tonight. It's for it to remain in effect, to revise it, or withdraw it. So I would suggest the second option with the revision. You can see the original order on the screen here.
Okay, let me just give me a second, Dan, to read through it a little
Sure.
bit.
Do you want me to make it bigger?
If you could. That's good. Thank you. Oh,
No, that's good.
that's good. I think I could read that from plain home. Okay. I read.
So Brandon, as I would read this, you would be looking for revising .1.
Yep, I'm just gonna finish reading. 1 second, sorry, Doug.
Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, it does basically outline what I was getting at. I just think we need to, in the revision, I moved to revise item number 1, to put a date of 2 weeks from today, the September 19th, excuse me, September 15th. To get a plan for erosion control in place with the city, working with Dan,
Okay,
and acted on by October 1st, the latest.
So you're talking about a specific planting schedule being included in that?
Yeah, mainly for erosion control. That's my biggest concern when I look at this site. We have open soil that need, and September is the best month to seed, so
Yep.
we need to take advantage of that.
Brandon, just a clarification, with the extreme drought that we're in right now, what role does that play in any of it?
It's bound to change. It would be historically
Yeah,
crazy, and September is still the best month. We need to get seed in the ground, so when the rain does come, it can germinate. Even if it sits there as a dormant seed through the drought until rain does come, when seed
Okay.
needs to get down, and whether it's hydro seeded or topped with a straw mulch, it needs substantial seed mulch on top of the seed bed for sure.
Okay.
Including fine grading of the soil so that it can take and be maintained. It looked a little rough. Is that the condition it's still in? So that should all happen within the month of September in order to get good results, just to stabilize it, and then they can come back with a plan showing agricultural use for it moving forward.
Well, they can come back with an application that includes any future plans. We're not requiring them to, in fact, do agricultural use in the future. I think we just want to be really clear here. What we're doing is we're revising this current order, and that's it. They still have to come in front of the commission per this order with evidence regarding their agricultural use or not, as well as an application.
Correct. Yeah, that's all written there. So it'd only be number 1 that we're revising with those dates to take advantage of this month.
okay.
That's my motion.
This is Doug, second.
All in favor?
This is Doug, aye.
Brandon, I.
Michael, aye.
Pete, aye.
Richard, I. Unanimous, so moved. Other business, Dan?
Well, for new business, I do have one application that came in yesterday before the deadline.
Okay,
The IWWCC 22-14. It's for the Uncas Lee Heritage Park.
so that needs to be tabled to next month. Is it
Doug, so moved.
Brandon, second.
Michael, okay,
Michael, you can have it.
second, Michael, second. Thank you.
is a motion on the table? All in favor?
Doug, aye.
Michael, aye.
Brandon, I.
Pete, aye.
Aye, unanimous, so moved. Dan,
And then the last item we have is the calendar for next year. It's in draft form. These are the proposed dates. You would need a motion to accept it if you're all in agreement with the dates, or if you'd like any of them moved, then we can revise it.
This is Brandon, and move to approve the proposed dates as stated.
Pete, second.
It's a motion on the table. All in favor?
Doug, I.
Michael, I.
Brandon, I.
Pete, aye.
Aye. Unanimous, so moved. Violations,
None.
a move to adjourn.
Brandon, so moved.
Pete,
Michael,
second.
second.
Is the motion on the table? All in favor?
Doug, I.
Michael, I.
Brandon, I.
Pete, aye.
Unanimous. So moved. Meeting's over. Thank you,
Thank you all.
gentlemen, everybody.
Thank you very much.